Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Saturday, the 11th of May 2024, the Islamic date, the 2nd of Zulqa'dah 1445. Hazrat Wala is saying or speaking about an article of Hazrat Sheikh Abdul Haq Muhaddis Dehelvi rahimahullah ta'ala. बाद हमद सलात के फ़कीर हकीर अल्लाह कवी व बारी का ये नहीफ तरीन बंदा अब्दुल हक इब्न सैफुद्दीन तुर्की दहलवी बुखारी अर्ज़ परदाज है कि तमाम इन अरबाब फ़हम और असहाब बसीरत के नज़दीक. This article starts in that way. The need and the importance of remaining. The need and importance of remaining in the company of the spiritual masters, as has been explained by Hazrat Sheikh Abdul Haq Muhaddis Dehelvi rahimahullah in his introduction of Akhbarul Akhyar. He says, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, peace and salutations to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This insignificant servant Abdul Haq ibn Saifuddin Turk ad-Dehelvi Bukhari states, all erudite and insightful scholars who are listed amongst the enlightened and reliable personalities accept that the most effective, in fact, the most superior form of worship is the companionship of the Ahlullah and remaining in the company of the close servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. So this waqia, Hazrat Shah Wasiullah rahimahullah ta'ala, or this particular article, he would say it over and over to the ulama who used to come to his majlis, and he used to go on to read this article, which states, when a seeker observes their steadfastness, the steadfastness of the Ahlullah, he develops strength and courage. Consequently, the fatigue of worship and the difficulties of spiritual exercises, which are essentials of this path, they become easy for him. In fact, when he beholds their beauty, his heart develops a special effulgence. As a result, darkness of doubts and misforgivings, which are the real cause behind the barrier between him and Allah Ta'ala, is removed from his heart. Now look, Hazrat Shah Wasiullah Sahib is saying, Sheikh Muhaddis rahimahullah is saying that companionship, suhbat, of the spiritual masters is one of the most superior forms of ibadat. The proof that he is giving is that when a seeker observes their firmness and steadfastness, it gives him courage and strength. This enables him to bear the difficulties of doing good deeds. When he beholds their beauty, his heart develops enlightenment, which removes the darkness and doubts, and the veil is raised. The veil is raised. When these ulama used to come, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahib used to also quote this waqia to them about this person who goes to his friend at the time of iftar. The friend says to him, come, let's make iftari. He begins weeping and crying profusely. He then goes on calculating the situation, saying to him, okay, forget it, don't worry about all of that. At least come and eat, have a meal with me. And then he says to him that, listen, tomorrow go to Sheikh Fadlur Rahman Ganj Alahbadi first thing in the morning. That's what he diagnosed for him. After seeing what he is going through, he said, listen, just go to Sheikh Fadlur Rahman Ganj Alahbadi first thing in the morning. When he goes there, Sheikh Fadlur Rahman, who was in his veranda jumps the half wall there, runs towards him, takes his palm and strikes it on his chest a few times. And after doing that, he says, now tell me, do you still have any doubts of Iman and Islam? After doing that, he says, Hazrat, bilkul saaf ho gaya. Now that was the spiritual capacity that these saintly people possessed. And today also we see whichever people are going in the direction of irtidad, it is all because of these wasawis and these whisperings that were created in the heart. It goes from way to way. Now the ilaj of this, our Hazrat Wala is saying, Adam tawajjuh, do not pay attention to these things that come into the heart, these wasawis. So he was a Saheb and Nisbat, one who possessed great nisbat and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to say to the ulama, aise logo ki bhi zarurat hai, that you also need the presence of such people. No dalil, no proofs of this and that, just the strength of the heart. So it is zikrullah, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these great giants and spiritual masters had such an ubur, and they understood this tariq ala wajhil basira. So here he is saying and writing it down as afzalul ibadat. Now look, Allah Ta'ala make us also just like that. And we understand that you need such people like that, and you need such places like that also. We also need to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. Now this article we learned from and heard from Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab over and over again. Now people need to see this here, that such an old person, Ahlullah, he has reached ripe old age, but he's still performing his tahajjud salat. So if we wish for this year and we make dua for this year, Allah Ta'ala will grant it to us. Hazrat Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to also quote the incident to us about ittaqu firasat al-mu'min, which comes in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that fear, beware of the insight and the basirat of a believer, فَإِنَّهُ يَنْزُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ, because he looks, when he gazes, he sees what the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this Yahudi person said, come, let me go and test, and I think I can only find this here at the Ahlullah. Let me go and see what type of firasat do they possess. Nevertheless, he adorned himself in such a way which the Ahlullah would don themselves. He wore that jubbas, he kept that khirqa that they would carry as well. And he comes and he sits there. After a little while, the Shaykh looks at him and he says to him that you standing there, you sitting there, why don't you remove that zunnar, that cross that you have around your neck? And then he stands up in denial and he says, why are you accusing me? I have no cross on my neck. He says to his murids and his disciples, go, open that jubbah of his, go quickly and remove that cross, that chain that he has around his neck. And when he does this year, to the surprise of all those in the gathering, there was this cross around the neck. He was a sincere person. He realized that karamat, and he realized the basirat that the Ahlullah possessed. He immediately says to the Shaykh, let me come into the fold. He recites the shahadat and he comes into the fold of Islam. After that, बहुत शद्द व मस्त के साथ Sheikh Abdul Khaliq Ghajdawani rahimahullah looks at the gathering of all his disciples and his murids, and what kaif and with what strength he must have told these people. He said to them, "Come, come, you people as well. Let us also." He accepted Iman and Islam. Ours also, we may be Muslims, but inside there is kufr, there is shirk, there is this, there is that, the other. Let us also come forward, and today let us remove all that rot from our hearts, and let us truly accept Islam. When he said that, it had such a magnificent effect on all those who were present there that it left that entire gathering weeping. And this is why we go to the Ahlullah, so that we can get these batini, dawlats, the nisbats, this great treasure which is in their bosoms and in their hearts. Reading this also, I feel ashamed. Allah Ta'ala also illuminate our internal with this nur. Going further, Hazrat Wala says, the same theme is expressed by Hazrat Khazi Sanaullah Panipati Rahimahullah, that he says, a group comprising countless people of whom it is conceivable that they will conquer on fabricating a lie, inconceivable, and whose every member is on such a level of piety and knowledge that it is impermissible to accuse him of lying, have stated in their writings and speeches that the company of the spiritual masters created a new condition in their hearts. This condition caused them to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His friends, created an enthusiasm for good actions, conferred them with a divine inspiration for righteous deeds, and entrenched true and correct beliefs in them. This is a condition which ought to be referred to as perfection. It is a condition which is a catalyst for many other perfections and excellences. Now the Qazi Sahib presents a striking and cogent proof of the blessings and benefits of the sohbat of the Ahlullah, the company of the spiritual masters. Namely, countless people developed a new spiritual condition which they did not have previously. He then describes the group wherein every member is on the highest level of piety and knowledge, making it impossible to accuse them of fabricating a lie. If this is the condition of every member of a group, it will obviously be immensely dependable and reliable. And if its members pass a unanimous decision on a certain matter, it will certainly be an absolute and definite decision. As though Qazi Sahib is saying that such a large group of people in every era have been speaking and writing about this, that it has reached the level of tawatur. There is no room for the rejection by anyone. The new condition which develops in the heart by virtue of the company of the spiritual masters is referred to the nisbat ihsan, which is mentioned in the hadith of Jibreel. So Qazi Sanaullah is saying, Zaban Qalam se, or Qalam Zaban se Shahid hai, from generation to generation. Now look at Hazrat Haji Imdadullah Rahimahullah, who came to him. It was Hazrat Gangohi, Hazrat Maulana Qasim Sahib. Now tell me, were they people who did not read Salat? They were people of great capacity, but they came to earn and achieve this nur, and they all went to Makkah Mukarramah. On one occasion, for the first time, they brought the Sadr Mudarris of Darul Deoband, Hazrat Maulana Yaqub Sahib. And then they said that Hazrat, it is his first time, so will he leave him here with you, and we'll go and go to Medina Munawwara, and then we'll return. So Hazrat Haji Imdadullah Sahab said that listen, he may remain, that's not a problem, but ye bolenge nahi, he should not utter a word. I ask you to let him stay here, but it is fine provided that it is this one. I'm just asking for one condition. Nevertheless, they went and they returned. When they returned, Hazrat Haji Imdadullah, the first complaint that he said, that koi bhi aata, whoever came here, the first one who started speaking before I could even speak was him. Now what to do? I just asked him to do one thing, but he was unable to do even that. Lekin Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab farmate the कि शेख इतने कामिल थे. The sheikh was so kamil that even despite the murid not doing whatever he was asked to do, he left him in such a state that when he returned to Deoband, pata nahi, we don't even know how many people he made kamil, and he made Saheb nisbat. Allah Ta'ala humko bhi in ni'mato se nawaze. Allah Ta'ala also bless us with these ni'mats. Now remember, these ni'mats and this treasure in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not come to an end. Thereafter, Hazrat Wala then speaks about the incident of Hazrat Zainul Abidin and Asma'i. He goes on to say, Asma'i relates, I was performing tawaf of the Kaaba one night when I saw a youngster holding the ghilaf of the Kaaba, and he was saying these couplets, Ya may yujibu du'a al-muttarri fi dhulami, Ya kashif ad-durri wal-balwa ma'as-saqami. O that Zat and Being who accepts the supplication of the restless in the darkness. O the one who removes the affliction and grief from the sick. قَدْ نَامَ وَفْدُكَ حَوْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَانْتَهَبُوا وَأَنْتَ حَيُّ يَا قَيُّومُ لَمْ تَنَمِ. The delegation which came to you and walked around the Kaaba then slept and woke up again. But you, O the loving, the upholder of all, never sleep. أَدْعُوكَ رَبِّي حَزِينًا هائما قلقا فارحم بكائي بحق البيت والحرم. Oh my Allah, I am beseeching you while I am in the state of worry, distress and anguish. So show mercy to my crying by virtue of the Kaaba and the Haram. إن كاد جودك لا يرجوه ذو سفه فمن يجود على العاصين بالكرم. If a foolish sinner cannot have hope of your pardon, who is going to pardon the sinners with kindness? The person reads the above couplets, cried profusely, and then made the following supplication. Ala ayyuhal maqsudu fi kulli hajatin, shakawtu ilayka ad-durra wal farham shikayati. O you who are the objective of every need, I describe my problem to you, so remove my problem. Ala ya rajai anta takshifu kurbati fahab li dhunubi kullaha waqdi hajati. O the being in whom I placed all my hopes, you alone can remove my worry and grief, pardon all my sins and fulfill my needs. أتيتك بأعمال قباح ردية وما في الوراء عبد جناك جنايتي. I have come before you with despicable and contemptible sins. I do not think there is anyone in the world who is a worse sinner than me. أتحرقني بالنار يا غاية المنى فأين رجائي ثم أين مخافي. O the end of my hopes, you are going to burn me? Are you going to burn me in the fire? If this were to happen, of what benefit would my hopes have been, and what benefit would my fear have been? In other words, my hopes in you and my fear in you did not benefit me. After saying the above, the person lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Asma'i rahimahullah relates, I went close to the youngster and I realized that it was Hazrat Zainul Abidin Ali ibn Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib rahimahullah. On seeing this, I raised his head and placed it on my lap and began crying myself. A few drops of my tears fell on his cheek. This caused him to open his eyes and he said, who is this person who is becoming an obstacle between me and my Allah and is crowding me? I replied, Hazrat, I am your servant Asma'i. I added, O our master, you are from the family of the Prophet and the fountainhead of messengership. Why then are you so fearful? Did Allah Ta'ala not say, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا? Allah only wants to remove the loathsome things from you, O family of the Prophet, and completely purify you. He replied, O Asma'i, what are you saying? Allah Ta'ala created paradise for His obedient servants, even if they are Abyssinian slaves. On the other hand, Allah Ta'ala has created hell for the sinners, even if they are free Qurayshi people. Did Allah Ta'ala not say, فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي السُّورِ فَلَا أَنْسَابَ بَيْنَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَلَا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ وَمَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ فِي جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدُونَ. Then, when the trumpet is blown, neither will there be any kinship on that day, nor will they ask about one another. Then those whose scales are heavy, it is they who are successful, and those whose scales are light, it is they who squandered their own selves, abiding in hell forever. Now, glory be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at the pure condition of his pure heart. At the same time, he followed the Sunnah strictly by demonstrating the condition of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for future generations through his own hal and condition. Now, how many people must have been influenced and impacted through this spiritual state and hal of his, which was in actual fact the translation of the hal of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. This chain continued and will continue even if it is in a minuscule amounts. Hazrat Wala then goes on to speak about the waqia in the incident of Hazrat Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah. Now observe the fear and submission of Hazrat Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah ta'ala. Hazrat Sheikh Sadi rahimahullah ta'ala writes in his Gulista, and Hazrat Sheikh rahimahullah went that Hazrat Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani went for Hajj one year. People saw him placing his forehead on the pebbles which were in the haram of the Kaaba. When he was making this dua, O Allah, pardon me. If I am deserving of punishment, then raise me on the day of Qiyamah as a blind person, so that I do not have to feel ashamed in front of the pious ones. Now glory be to Allah, what a beautiful condition of hope and fear. We always hear the words of hope and fear being uttered, but we are able to understand their real meaning by observing the spiritual condition of these spiritual masters. Now, our Hazrat Wala is saying that on one occasion, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb went to Aligarh. He went there, he sat down and he remained silent. And then after that he went on to say, listen, you people know how to speak. I want to teach you how to keep quiet. And that was the type of majlis that he conducted there. Just absolute khamoshi and silence. Nevertheless, such ahwal of the Buzurgan-e-Deen, Allah Ta'ala in ahwal se humko bhi behrawar farma de. Allah Ta'ala also bless us with these high, great spiritual states. Now, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab said such things in his gatherings which would cause all the people to weep profusely. Now, what use would this heart of ours be if it is just empty like that? And great people used to come to the gathering of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, and he would read out articles of this nature to them. Now Allah Ta'ala bless us with these great qualities of the Buzurgan-e-Deen. We just need to turn our attention just a bit, and Allah Ta'ala will be prepared to give it to us. Hazrat Wala thereafter makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma alif bayna qulubina wa aslih dhata baynina wahdina subul as-salam wa najjina min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur wa jannibna al-fawahisha ma dhahara minha wa ma batan wa barik lana fi asma'ina wa absarina wa qulubina wa azwajina wa dhurriyyatina wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim. بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.